these top leaders are all like brothers and cousins. You know, it's just that they have changed alliances recently, but you can't really distinguish one from the other. The ones at the top, they're kind of really the same.
This is what we saw with ODM, now merging with UDA.
Exactly. And if you look at the same thing. And if you look at their history, it's basically the same people, you know, just on different sides today and tomorrow.
Was it because of Kikuyus or was it because of DCP just advocating for his own political party?
No, the background discussion is about who is invested in Nairobi. And while it is true that by and large it will be Kikuyus that own a lot of the buildings in the CBD, my point is that this is a backward political discussion. This is backward thinking.
We're supposed to oversee this implementation of the new constitution.
But did he believe in it? How do you implement that which you don't really believe in? You know, there was a term that time called watermelons. It ended up being with Kalonzo, but a bunch of guys, including Uhuru, were part of that tag, watermelon. And I asked a neighbor of mine here who's a minister in a county government. She said, you know, you need to help Ruto do this. So I asked her, madam, so what exactly do you want me to do? You want me to pick a gun and go to State House?
I've already said what you believe will work.
In Swahili they say, kadri ya uwezo wangu.
Umejaribu yote uwezavyo.
Never shoot the messenger. Yeah, Matiang'i is, you have to dig deeper to understand the history of these people. Matiang'i is the wild card to maybe split the opposition, something like that. And that is pulled by Uhuru, who supports the president, but a lot of people don't know that and they don't see that.
Great to see you. I hope you're well wherever you're watching us from. It's December, Drinkcember as many call it. A lot of summer bunnies here in Nairobi. I'm so glad that you take some time and you listen to us about conversations that help to foster change in this country, conversations purely on ideology. If you're first time on this particular platform, I'd request that you subscribe. If you do not know whether you have subscribed, you can probably try and counter check. Just look at the subscribe button, whether it says subscribed. This is a new platform we've done free conversations, and I'm so grateful that you've always been with us from the conversations back in 2022 to now on this new one. I'm here with Benji Ndolo. He's a political scientist, strategist, leadership, governance expert, a lawyer too, and we're going to talk about this country. We want to know why are so many people, you know, with great ideas, but they don't get power. And once they do, they don't make changes that help this country. We're going to talk about that. Great to see you. Happy to be here.
Thank you. As you said, it's the festive season, December. Some call it Drinkcember.
Yes.
Let's a bit of overindulging, you know, kind of seems to occur. Welcome to my home, by the way.
Thanks. One of many.
One of several. Let us be careful with overindulging. You find that in the festive season, people tend to drink a little too much. Everywhere you go, you're offered food. Kula mchele hapa, kuku mzima pale, unaongeza nyama. Spare a thought. Sometimes for someone just close to you, you might not see them. It's just the guard at the gate. It's an Uber driver who's had a very bad business season. Spare a thought to give, not just to consume everything yourself. Yeah, that's always a good message. And be safe out there.
Be safe. That's of course the message. You saw what happened to
Honorable Jirongo.
You know, it's sad, it's crazy. Did you know him? How did you know?
I've never spoken to Jirongo, but last year I was somewhere having lunch, on standby actually to go to a meeting with these politicians. And Jirongo was right next to me. Confident guy, that's his aura. Strong guy, 64 years of age, has been through a lot. A lot as in, by age 29, 30, he was a billionaire, if you may. Controversial as it is. You could tell that he's very approachable. You could tell that if he's just a kind of guy, you can say hello and you start a conversation. And if you said you need something, he'd probably give you. So I've heard he was generous to a fault. I'm a historian, so I have to know and research. The only thing with our politicians is they're a bit reckless. You know, you don't want to be 64 years of age driving around at 2 a.m. alone. And you have also previously expressed fears for your life and what have you. So there's a lot of personal responsibility in our culture that is lacking. It's a painful time for their family. It's a loss to the country, to his home. You know, he was still a big voice and a pillar. He's helped a lot of politicians. Supported the late His Excellency Raila Odinga very fervently in 2022. And so a guy like that, always has something to offer in terms of advice, in terms of strategy, in terms of resource mobilization. I heard that Atwoli had given him 100 million shillings when he asked for it. That's the Kenya we live in, bro. They ended up having a legal issue, but just to imagine, and I know Atwoli personally, so I know that story is absolutely factual. Crazy.
Crazy. Rest in peace, of course.
Yeah.
Cyrus, Jirongo.
Pray for his soul.
Well, my platform is basically about transforming this guy.
Yes.
And one of the key things that I'm looking forward to doing is inviting people that have ideas.
I'm the head boy of people with ideas. Actually, a lot of things you're hearing the president talk about. Kenya is still behind. Kenya needs to transition. Kenya needs to move fast. If you just look at my history and follow things I've said, these are my thoughts 100%. That Kenya is still underdeveloped. Kenya is still poor, and unnecessarily so.
Why are we still poor? When you say unnecessarily so, we have some of the best brains in the world.
And the best resources. We have minerals. We have weather, environment. We have elephants, lions. We literally have everything. But we lack leadership. That's a fact. And it's not lacking leadership this year. We've had a deficit of leadership in the last so many decades.
What would you attribute that to?
Our politics is toxic. And our society is not innocent. So we have a money-driven political system where, because we don't have campaign finance laws and what have you, and also a belief in the constitution, in leadership and integrity, it also doesn't matter where the money comes from. So we've just had a discussion here about politicians. You can imagine boys handing each other 100 million shillings. You remember when the president had a huge fallout with the then Deputy President Gachagua? And the president said that Gachagua had asked him for 10 billion once they got into power. But that's what the president said.
Yes.
Gachagua responded and said that actually he had financed the president to the tune of 2 billion, something like that.
Yes.
So these are two Kenyans in their 50s talking about billions of shillings like it was samosas.
Pocket change.
So that can only then produce, a politics where it's about money. It's not about competency. It's not about principles. It's not about what you can deliver. It is really about how much money you can bring to the table. Add on to that the ethnic angle. Add on to that, of course, now the fact that you have to recoup this money once you spend it. So people go into office, you become a governor, and immediately you start recouping to give your donors, to make for yourself, to ensure your re-election. So politics has collapsed in this country.
So when you become an MP, you're just looking at the first, second CDFs?
In fact, I remember, because I worked for the Auditor General for almost 6 years, I remember one of the revelations from, I think it was the Speaker of the National Assembly, saying that MPs are never available to do legislation and to debate because they're always just busy running around looking for tenders. It's a very unfortunate circumstance.
That's where we find ourselves in.
That's where we find ourselves today.
If you look at what we saw with the by-election, let me just ask, what lessons would you say you learned from there? Because I've seen opposition truthfully saying that there was a lot of money on the ground.
Of course.
I've also seen the opposition saying IEBC was manipulated, IEBC was biased. I've also seen the issue of agents not being allowed in specific counting rooms or something of that sort. Don't you think this is something that could have been seen before it happened and the opposition to counter it?
Obviously, one of the things that you don't mention is there was quite a bit of violence. There was a lot of chaos in Malava. There was a bit of confusion and chaos and violence in Mbeere North. But the Deputy President himself, Kindiki, I think was in Mbeere North for 2 weeks. And if the government deploys machinery, all these helicopters and people at the rank of Deputy President, cabinet secretaries running around, speakers openly campaigning, and when the outcome is there, you find that I think the winner got something like 13,800 votes and the opposition candidate got 13,500 votes. Is that really a victory? So that tells you that there was a lot of monkey business. And IBC has to be careful, especially Ethacon, the new chairman. They always say that you have to be like Caesar's wife, above reproach.
Yes.
So when you see people start to, brand him and label him, saying things like, This one, chunga sana, he's worse than Chebukati. And remember how Raila, for example, bastardized Chebukati, consistently and forcefully. And this is someone with millions of followers and millions of loyalists. You can easily then ban the country, and that's a risk.
I'm asking specifically about the lessons because we knew this was going to happen. Does this mean this is likely to happen again?
It's possible that 2027 can be chaotic. And so the lessons to learn here is, number one, organization. Messaging, number two, that the message and the identity, the brand identity must be very clear. Why? So that you can distinguish one from the other. Because often in a democracy, as it tends to happen, Jadiel, you find that these top leaders are all like brothers and cousins. It's just that they have changed alliances recently, but you can't really distinguish one from the other. The ones at the top, they're kind of really the same.
This is what we saw with ODM now merging with UDA.
Exactly. And
if you look at the same thing.
And if you look at their history, it's basically the same people, just on different sides today and tomorrow. And so the lessons learned is you have to have a very clear path. And of course, you have to have unity on both sides, either opposition or government. So you're either in one or the other. And then you get the vote out. Those are the three things that I would say are the things that someone would learn and really put their focus on is, to also now sell your vision. One side is one term, the other side is two term. Justify why. Today, the president is launching December 15th, the sovereign fund for what he calls the quick development of this country. It's a 5 trillion shilling fund to quickly move Kenya towards Malaysia and Singapore. Yeah, that's in theory, it's a great thing. Of course, the devil is always in the details and also in the intent. And so it's for him now to distinguish himself, for example, from Kalonzo.
Yeah.
And that's possible.
You've said something. What do you stand for? Is this something that you're looking for in the opposition? Because I've been in several of your spaces. In case you don't know, there's Sunday spaces with Benji and Ndolo.
Yeah, Ndolo and yes.
Let me ask, we've been bashing Rigathi Gachagua. And I think most likely the only person I've listened to who bashes him the way that you do. And it gets to a point where sometimes I think maybe he did something to you personally. But what do you expect from Rigathi? Because it's probably one of the best mobilizers of the opposition now.
So Jadiel, I'm one of the, honestly, fairest people that you'll ever find. Like, I believe in justice and fairness. My background is, I went to school for business. I'm a human rights activist. I cannot just bash Gachagua for no reason. Gachagua said when he was deputy president that he stands at State House and looks at the line. And when people come for jobs, he takes some and takes them behind. And the reason he said is that you cannot feed outsiders while your children are hungry. He also talked about shares, hisa za serikali, that some have few shares, others have more shares, and others have no shares kwa hii serikali. I'm just going by what he says. Recently, Gachagua says that he has had a discussion with Wiper, political party, that they will prop Kalonzo for the presidency, but they will take all 19 seats in, I think 16 seats in Nairobi and leave for Wiper 1 seat for the county assemblies, the wards. And also that they would take the governorship and the women rep position because Nairobi is owned by Kikuyus. Now, this kind of...
Was it because of Kikuyus or was it because of DCP just advocating for his own political party?
No, the background discussion is about who is invested in Nairobi. And while it is true that by and large it will be Kikuyus that own a lot of the buildings in the CBD, my point is that this is a backward political discussion. This is backward thinking. Our Constitution 2010 and also the way the world is moving. I've worked with you for a few years. You've been hosting me.
Yes.
I have no idea what your ethnic identity is because it doesn't matter. I have no idea, Jadiel, if you're a Kisii or a Meru or a Kikuyu or a Luya. I have no idea and I don't care.
Because it doesn't matter. And
it doesn't matter.
And when you say that about one DBG, does this mean that you can support the united opposition if he is their front runner?
First of all, he can't be the front runner. He's an impeached and removed deputy president. So I think he's still in court.
When you listen to lawyers, it's until all avenues have been exhausted.
No, yes, but so how would you offer yourself when the avenues have not been exhausted? And we don't know when they'll be exhausted. So just like happened with Sonko, who was a governor, to me, and you can take this to the bank, Rigathi Gachagua is not eligible for the position of presidency, and he's a pretty smart guy because he's not dumb. He just does dumb things, but that doesn't make him dumb per se. What he's trying to do is to mobilize his support, which he'll then donate to the candidate, which is a smart strategy. But it won't be himself.
When you talk about messaging, what messaging do you expect? Because you're talking about messaging, and yes, you're talking about a bigger idea. What is your idea? Let me start from there. What is your idea that you believe I will vote for Jim Wanjigi because of the economy or Maraga because of constitutionalism, but personally as Benji, this is what I want to see?
Well, I'm not a candidate, so it's not for me to just be giving ideas for free to presidential candidates. But if I was a candidate, one of the biggest things that has to be my North Star, my guiding beacon, is the fact that we have to remake this country. We have to remake this country. There are too many young people unable to get a job. Poverty is still real. There are too many people living on $1 or $2 a day. So there's a lot of inequality. There's a lot of lack of opportunity. And so you have to do policy that kind of levels the playing field and balances the country out. So that's the first thing. And how do you do that? It is through fiscal prudence, fiscal responsibility. We have to stop borrowing. We've talked about this on your show before. We have to cut wastage. Cutting wastage means cutting wastage. It doesn't mean giving excuses. If I was Ruto today, I will immediately stop purchase of vehicles. You can't do anything unless you try to kill me like they killed Magufuli, I guess. But these are some of the things that can restart this country by giving hope to the youth, by finding resources to then distribute into empowerment programs and things that create jobs, and funding of projects without borrowing, of equipping hospitals, of building new hospitals, of paying teachers, of paying doctors, of paying police, reforming police. These are all things that actually can be done and done quickly. Because which country are you going to have if people are poor, police are corrupt, hospitals have no medicine? What are you president of? So those are some of the real basic ideas that distinguish you from your competitor.
Why don't Kenyans sell what you've just, buy what you've just said? Because I listen to these conversations, they are very enriching. But why do Kenyans still vote for the tribal kingpins?
Because the Kenyan society is in itself manifestly corrupt. So I'll just give you a quick example. Because the electorate is not innocent. So I golf quite a bit. And it's a great sport. It's very mental. There's a lot of benefits just being out in the environment, being active, not just driving around all the time. Jadiel, you have to be active and swing and think and plan and shoot. And so you go to a golf club and you have someone called a caddy master. He's the guy who manages all the people who do the caddies for the players and also ensures that clubs are not pinched and what have you. So you find a guy like that, and what does he do? He just brings all the caddies from his village.
Oh, they're doing
it's
that.
Just a culture. It's just a culture. So you become an MD of a small media organization. The first person you hire is your cousin. The second person is your girlfriend, etc. So that in itself is nepotism and is corrupt. And so Kenyans tend to lean towards corruption, even in their private lives, even in the private sector, and tribalism. And therefore, they cannot see a good thing because they're looking at ule ni mluya kama mimi. Of course, the net result of this is tears and regret and a lot of lamentation for the next 5 years. Hatuna mjumbe, hatuna rais, hatuna nini, and they wait for 5 years to lapse and then they make the same mistake again. But Kenya could really use strong, clear-minded, committed, constitutional leaders.
And once you know this, those in the opposition, those looking for offices, once you know that Kenyans will still be tribal or they are tribal now, what do you do to change that?
When we passed the Constitution in 2010, because I was part of that whole Katiba Sasa campaign, we had a component called civic education. It was actually removed by the then Finance Minister, Uhuru Kenyatta. See, these are things people don't know. And what Uhuru said to the president at the time is, Your Excellency, hii ndio kitu inaweza kututoa. So proper civic education across the board is very important so that people actually understand what is politics. People think politics ni ukora. That's why people saying, ilikuwa tu siasa. And the leaders solidify that by hurling insults and then doing handshakes and saying, tulikuwa tu tunafanya siasa, but this is my brother.
My brother.
Yeah, so that kind of confusion, you need civic education where people even understand what is the role of a senator, what is the role of an MP, so that then they can get the right person. Because if you just put a thug as a member of parliament, I mean, just known wash and crooked, fraudsters, how can it work? It can never work.
What would have been Uhuru's responsibility? Then he was minister, then he got power, was supposed to oversee this implementation of the new constitution.
But did he believe in it? How do you implement that which you don't really believe in? There was a term that time called watermelons. It ended up being with Kalonzo, but a bunch of guys, including Uhuru, were part of that tag watermelon. It is only that Raila is very forceful, God rest his soul, and he really tagged that on Kalonzo Musyoka. But there are several of them. I think Michuki was part of that as well. And it's because they had a lot of concerns about many things, the Kadi courts in the constitution, remember, the land holdings, etc. It's only especially Raila who really believed in the 2020 constitution, even though he also then developed some doubts when he expected to become president automatically. And then when that didn't happen, he also started thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't have a pure presidential system under this constitution. And that's why you had him talking about a referendum. Again, a wavering on ideology, where he's kind of changing to suit the time.
But don't you think it's because the presidential system is failing us?
It's failing us because of the leadership. It's not failing us because it's a bad system. There's a good president is a good president. A good leader is a good leader. Wangari Maathai was a good leader. Mwai Kibaki was a very good and strong leader. So is Barack Obama. Trump is a strong leader. He's a bad leader. I mean, someone is saying on a podium, Somalia is a shithole. There's nothing that comes out of there. It's nothing. They're fraudsters. It's garbage. That doesn't make the American presidency a bad system. It's just the occupant.
The occupant.
You've never had Biden speak in those terms. Yeah.
You've talked about civic education. Now that it was removed, does that mean there's no hope in educating the masses? Or should this be a purely responsibility of those who are selling the agenda?
In fact, you asked why people still continue if they know that people are going to vote the wrong person. Well, the human spirit, and especially the Kenyan spirit, is one that you never really give up. Hope dies last. Stud Sterkel said that. Hope dies last. How can I just give up on my own country? It is my country. You talked about Samabanis. A lot of them, I lived with them out there. I met a lot of them last week. They're home. And they come home to visit and they invest here. And they challenge me sometimes. They say, hey, Benji, this place is so chaotic. How do you actually live here? How did you transition? But it's our country. If you don't fix Kenya, you Jadiel, if you don't care, is Kenya going to be fixed by Ethiopians, by Swedish, by Americans? No. Kenya is for Kenyans and for Kenyans to fix until it is a country that we can all be proud of. So we never give up hope, no matter how tough the going is. In fact, if Mzee Raila didn't give up hope, some of us who have not even begun the race per se, how can you give up?
Then would you say you've given up on this government? Those who believe that Ruto should be out immediately. Ruto is not suitable to govern. You hear these messages a lot from the opposition, and what we saw with Gen Z protests who were marching
last year.
House, they needed him out. Is that where you are when it comes to hope with the Kenya Kwanza administration?
But you see, Jadiel, Ruto is not Kenya. Ruto is an individual. So there are those who really truly believe that Ruto is unsuited. They believe that from a long time ago. Kipruto Arab Kiro is one of them. Some of your guests. Philip Kisia is another. But that's their opinion. And I have my own doubts.
You were with him in the campaign trail.
because who else could I have been with? I believed that Ruto has what it takes to actually do the job and that he has a realistic chance of winning. And I was right on both scores. I believed that if Raila won the elections in 2007, when he was in his prime at 67 years of age or 64, how could Raila win the election all these years later when Uhuru defeated him in 2017 and now he's pushing 80? And I articulated these positions very clearly. In fact, I'm very happy to say, and let me just say here, I went to a function last week, and you know, these things have views. I just met a guy who runs a company, and he said, Benji, I follow you. I work in Kampala. He's a Kenyan. I follow everything you say, and you are very hard on Mzee, but you give Mzee a very good tribute. We don't do these interviews for fun. People actually sit in their offices, in their homes, and try to see what is Benji saying and why. And these people are taxpayers. These people have followings. These people have families. These people have voices. These people have feelings. These people have opinions and desires for this country. And so I'm telling you that I believed, and to an extent still do, that Ruto, with his age and experience, has what it takes to actually spur this country forward. Now, if he goes and picks Sudi and decides to do other things, and for example, the government was doing abductions, that's on him. That's not on me. And still,
that does not disqualify what you believe he can do.
Correct.
But then,
his abilities.
Yes.
Ruto can articulate policy. Ruto can do a political fight. He can get down and dirty and fight, do a political duel. He has what it takes. Now, if they decide that the government should be killing people, that's not on me. Mine is to also advise that the best thing, two things that I've given the president formally and informally, that they must follow the constitution, that after last year he must pivot, because there's also a lot of hatred on the ground, online and elsewhere. What more can a friend do? What in my capacity can I do? And he's saying very clearly that, for instance, Ruto, by the time Ruto's coming into politics, even into parliament, people like Kalonzo had been there over 10 years. Over 10 years. Kalonzo had been a deputy National Assembly speaker. He had been a minister. So, and he's younger. Kalonzo is even older than President Uhuru. So, what do you do? And I've tried to help Kalonzo as a friend. I've tried to help him. What do you actually do?
Do you think he has it, Kalonzo? If he's given this ticket and this story, you run government, does he have what it takes?
He has a chance. But then, for example, has he been on your show?
No.
Have you seen him campaigning around?
Not yet.
Well, the Deputy President Ruto was campaigning in Kenya, corner to corner. So, how do you expect something on a platter? And if people tell you come out and sell your vision, you don't, what's my fault? Do you want me to take a gun and go to his house? Sometimes also, Jadiel...
Is this a fault with ideologies? Sorry for catching you. Is this
so sometimes we get frustrated with media as well because, as a strategist or as an analyst, you mean well and you give the best, the best idea and the best vision. From an advisory perspective, I clash with people like David D publicly. I say, I just talked about cutting wastage. So the president, for example, is retaining over 100 advisors on so much money, and I ask for accountability. I ask for them to be seen and for their work to be seen. For Kenyans to say, this is Sylvia Kangara, she's advising on this is actually working. So then if the president, who is the president, refuses to do that, then people will get mad at me for supporting him or giving him advice. Now, my question is, and I asked a neighbor of mine here who's a minister in a county government, she said, you need to help Ruto do this. So I asked her, madam, so what exactly do you want me to do? You want me to pick a gun and go to State House?
I was already saying what you believe will work.
In Swahili they say, kadri ya uwezo wangu.
Umejaribu yote uwezavyo.
Never shoot the messenger. That's a cardinal rule.
And then I go back to, have you lost hope Not in the country.
And remember, I'm not holding any office per se. I'm not holding any office. So you see, also, you cannot say that I'm speaking and I'm part of wastage. Like, I can't account for my budget. I'm not holding any constitutional office. So what better friend is that than one who has not even been given a job, yet has stood with you and tried to help you to deliver on your manifesto?
If you sleep on your bed or look at the ceiling and ask, why don't they do the simple things that you say, which are simple and can be seen? Why don't they do that?
There's an arrogance and a stubbornness that comes with the Kenyan psyche, and especially political leadership, where there's a disdain for mwananchi. I've actually been told before by some of the top handlers that I take Kenyans too seriously. Yeah, that me, I take them too seriously. Yeah, that Kenyans are just, I've been told even by family that you're just busy advocating for Kenyans, but Kenyans are used to poverty. Just let them suffer. There's a lot of that thinking across government that, we know the youth are jobless. So that's what caused all the anger with the Gen Z protests. Because now you know that, and they're your voter, and then you come out wearing a 5 million shilling Rolex watch. So it's a spit in the face. It's what Edward Craig said, they're vomiting on the shoes of Kenyans. It's wrong.
So it is deliberate.
It's evil. In a way, it's deliberate. Even they think I'm silly for being on the other side. But that's okay. For me, I must do my conscience. Because, at the end of the day, Jadiel, and this is a point I thought about when I was preparing to come and talk to you today. 100 years from today, you and I will not be on this planet.
For sure.
Okay? But Kenya will still be here. So, Kenya is not my property. Kenya is not your property, and Kenya is not Ruto's property. What we're doing today is all we can do to ensure that once we are gone, there's no value derived from leaving Kenya worse than we found it. So human life is spiritual, and it's in different forms. And the spirit informs many things. So there's nothing really to gain from me being part of a gang to loot. Because even if I build a very nice house today, I can only live in it another, God knows, 20 years, 20 weeks. But it cannot be 100 years. So what is it worth? That's what I'm saying. I loved Wangari Maathai because she said, which is true, that we hold this planet in trust for our children. Are you getting? We hold this planet in trust for our children. So what you can do is plant trees, make sure the rivers are clean, so that tomorrow, do you have kids?
No, not just.
You will, at some point. And if you destroy Kenya, now, so what will your kids find? I'm sure you have nieces,
Nieces,
nephews, small cousins, like the ones you saw playing around here. They're 7 years old. Yeah, and you know why? Because they're also comfortable. You see, the youth are tomorrow. They're the future. These kids are also, they're a bit excited, by the way. Just before we started, it was quite quiet, but now, they're seeing cameras. So they're running around, they're boisterous, they're excited. It's because they have no fear. It's because they are welcome. Now, just imagine if we are setting up cameras and kids are running and hiding. So you're a monster.
Oh, yeah, that you will know. You know
exactly.
Something is wrong.
Yeah, something is wrong. So you're a monster. But for what gain? For you to have a golden throne, and then it's kind of meaningless. And when we talk about leadership, Jadiel, I must stress this point. Leadership must be about purpose. Someone like Ruto, because he's wealthy, at this point now, he's not like chasing tenders and chasing money, Now, he must carry the yearning, the urge to transform Kenya. And if you feel you can't, then you just resign. I advocate for that all the time. And what I tell him, I tell myself. If you feel you can't be the governor, then just call it quits and walk. No problem.
What is the role of young people? Gen Zs, the protests were big, international.
Yeah, they were huge. I was there.
Going into parliament,
Yeah, they were huge.
The next one was going to State House and Austin.
It was huge.
But then the conversation, as I talk to people, it's about, but who's their leader? If you think about that, Benji, how would you assess how young people can not only gain power, but can actually have a future for themselves? People like me.
It's not about youth per se. You can be young and dumb. You can be young and bad. Young people must have clear ideologies that they align with. Young people must take the vote. Young people must be resilient and resolute, that if we vote, our vote will count for something. Young people must not have corrupt minds, that we'll vote our own to go there. At a year, it is time to eat. When Raila did the handshake, even the other time, a lot of young people, and there are many who supported Raila, they said, oh, Baba struggled so much. Watch hata yeye akule. No, that is the wrong mentality. Young people must be the change. Young people must be the alternative. Young people must do different when indeed they get the chance. Like now, last night I hosted the PS Health, Dr. Omo Luga. It's a young guy, technical guy, smart guy. He must not come to best those who are corrupt before him. He must come to do different. He must come to be the change. He must come to do good. That is all that you can do with leadership. That is what your camera guy is very smart. That kid has some issues. Yeah, he's a very smart guy. Very nice. Young people must be the change. Barack Obama espoused this more articulately than I would. He was right then. It's correct today. Young people must be the change. And as we must take it.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. And you must be the change you desire to see. The good thing with Kenya is, in Kenya, it's always impossible until it's done. And Kenyans are very good at emulating. There are so many things I saw in America. You say, oh, that's American, it can't happen here. Or you'll be surprised, it will happen here tomorrow. That's how. Kenyans are a very unique breed. That's how Kibaki came in 2002. Nobody cared that he's Kikuyu. Nobody cared that he was on a wheelchair. Change will come as it must. I've quoted the Honorable Mwai Kibaki from 1991. Change will come as it must.
I want to wrap it up, but you've said Kibaki, and I was thinking about rainbow. Do you think we'll have that rainbow in 2027?
I think we will.
Everybody on that side will come together.
Yes, there's a few games being played, like Matiang'i and whatnot, but puppeteers like Uhuru are the ones pulling the strings behind it.
Matiang'i is what people say is.
Yeah, Matiang'i is, you have to dig deeper to understand the history of these people. Matiang'i is the wild card to maybe split the opposition, something like that. And that is pulled by Uhuru, who supports the president, but a lot of people don't know that, and they don't see that.
I wanted to wrap it up, but now you're giving me juice and tea now.
Let's leave it at that. I'll leave it at that.
Matiang'i will be used as a Gawa Kura.
Yes.
Why? Based on what?
Because the united opposition is a big threat to the government.
And you believe Uhuru Kenyatta is supporting Ruto?
I know, not I believe. I'm not stupid. That's why I do what I do. I know he is.
Well, kunywa chai of
if he wasn't,
yes,
angekuwa ndani
kabisa. Thanks for tuning into that conversation. I'm so glad that you take your time and listen to us every single week. Benji, always a pleasure. It's a short and sweet conversation. That is what I call it. Very short, about 30 to 40 minutes.
To the point.
And what you've said basically is that the leaders must want change.
Yes.
And Kenyans
must want change. So those align. And that alignment is victory. And change must be defined. It will also enhance accountability, because the next president will say, if I joke around, these guys will kick me out. So it's good for democracy. Having said that, let's have a measured, merry, balanced Christmas. Be responsible. Don't overdo anything. You don't have to drink a whole mzinga. No, just take 2 and that's enough. Watch out for other road users. Share with the hungry. Just that makes Kenya a better country. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for.
God bless you, bro. Asante.
God bless you too.
And we hope for a good 2026.
2026. I'll come to the other home now.
In fact, you're welcome. Let's do another one. And we'll eat some nyama and keep talking to these Kenyans. Yes, and kidogo uji. We always have kidogo uji, yes. We in moderation. Yeah. I wish you do well with what you're doing. You're a great guy.
Thanks.
I have admired your vigor. I know you have a different platform now from what we were doing before. I always tell people, and I told the PS last evening when he thanked me for having him on my space, that especially as young people, there's only one thing we can do, Jadiel, and that is to support one another. Nothing else. I cannot bring you down. I must not. I can only support you and you support me. That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Goodbye for now. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day. Have yourself a Merry Christmas if we don't get to interact again.
Exactly. Goodbye. Thanks again. Asante.
Good.
Good stuff.